What's going on, guys? It's Mohammed, the host of Aware Alpha, and welcome to episode. I don't even know which number this is going to be, either be 68, 65. And just want to say I'm so grateful for you listeners, listening to this podcast. It's crazy. I was reflecting earlier, only a year ago, last year, this time in November, we were just recording the first like 10, 20 episodes. And Aware Alpha was really just a vision in my mind and just my own drive and curiosity to want to share my message with the world. And it's interesting, 50, 60 episodes later. And now in the last, week or so, I've done, 10, 15 interviews, and I'm planning on doing another 30, 40 with guests and individuals that I look up to, that I'm friends with in my life. And I believe they have a message and their stories will resonate with all the Aware Alpha listeners. So like I said, guys, in the last few episodes, we're going to start having more guests on the podcast. And today's guest is one of my amazing friends and just an amazing guy to really share the things that he's going to share, his own story and his beliefs, his mindset, his philosophy on life. I look up to him. I've learned a lot from him in the last 3, 4 years of our friendship. And so I'm excited to introduce Ravi to the podcast. Ravi, just to make sure I pronounce this. So just want to tell you guys a little about him so you guys kind of understand where he comes from and what he does. So he's actually known as Ralz, independent music producer and recording engineer who has produced and recorded for legendary hip-hop artist Styles P, up and coming female breakthrough artist Princess Nokia with notable television placements with Slice TV, Lionsgate Films, and many more. Decades of experience in the music industry, co-founder of Toronto's based independent record label PA Records in the early 2000s, and founder of Ralz Beats Music, licensing and publishing company. And of course, the man, the myth, and one of my good friends, Ravi. So Ravi, I just want to say welcome to the podcast, brother.
Wow, amazing introduction, man. I couldn't have wrote it better myself.
Thank you. Thank you. I was trying to make up as many things that I know about you in that. So when I wrote it, I was like, I feel like this resonates. I feel like this is how I look at them.
I like
So
it. I like it.
let me give you, I got a question. Okay. It's the first thing that comes to my mind. And I'm just very curious. Okay. What's something that has helped you in the last few decades of being in the music industry, something that has helped you where you are able to take that and still implement it or do it in your life, in your relationships, in your business, all, and like it's worked the same thing. So what's something that's worked in all areas of your life?
Oh man, that's a great question, and I think you said a part of the answer in the question when you asked it. Um, a big thing is relationships, man. And
Mm,
being able to manage different personalities, emotions, just relationships in general with people, man.
mm,
That's one of the things that I think being in music for so long, dealing with so many different types of people, that transition that I was able to take that skill and basically apply to everything else in life.
mm,
And it's so some people may call it emotional intelligence.
mm.
Um, I wouldn't really classify it as emotional intelligence. I would classify it more as awareness, and we've
Yeah.
spoken on this before. And it's just being aware of people, understanding
Mm,
people and taking time to get to know them out below the surface level, And I
mm,
think that skill has helped me a lot in
mm.
everything in life, right? Just
That's
being able to
amazing.
connect with people, build relationships, hold relationships.
Mm.
That's by far the number one thing,
That's
by
amazing.
far.
Why you mentioned self-awareness? Why do you think self-awareness is so important? I feel like so many people talk about it these days, and like of course myself, I'm curious about it and I understand the concept in a way for the level of awareness that I have. And I'm no professor out there. But like why do you think self-awareness is so important? Like to just even succeed in life or even to be happy or aware, whatever it is that you're desiring from life. Why is that self-awareness so important?
Oh, coming in with the heavy questions right off the bat. I love it. I love it. It's real simple, brother. Like with self awareness, I think like being able to do a temperature check on
Mm,
yourself. See where you're at. Because we're dynamic beings. So
mm,
we're not going to feel the same way all the time. Different situations, different environments, different people are going to bring certain things out of us, and we have to be aware enough to understand what's happening when it's happening to be able to make
mm,
proper decisions, right? So
mm,
I think I that's really it. It's as simple as that. Just being able to understand what's going on with you, also the awareness of other people as well, is hella important. Super, super
Mm.
important.
No, that's interesting. I like that. And like, it's interesting the way you said that. It's at the end of the day, pretty much self-awareness is something that's required for you to, what you're saying is to make sure you succeed in your relationships and to understand your own emotions, to handle other people, you know, even networking and all these things. It's like self-awareness is important. And if you were to like explain that to somebody, you know, if somebody is just like new to it and they're like, but like what is self-awareness, like what would you tell the like the most newest person to that, like that's curious, like what is self, like how do I become more self-aware, you
The
know?
best way to the the best way to describe it, if I was to explain to somebody, I would think of it as just asking yourself questions and answering them, right? So something happens and you stop and think for a second. Okay, why is this happening? What's going on? What does this mean? And
Mm,
I think just asking questions are so important, bro. And
mm,
even to yourself.
yeah.
Like I have conversations with myself. I ask myself questions all the time, and I think that's a big part of self
Mm-hmm.
awareness. Just asking yourself questions, and that's how I would explain it to somebody if I was to describe it.
Mm.
Just asking yourself questions. It's as simple as that.
That's amazing, man. Guys, did you
I think
listen
you'll be surprised what kind of answers you get when you ask them honestly, right? If you're honest
to
with yourself and you really sit and you really just take some time to ask yourself certain questions,
mm-hmm.
you answer them, you'll be like,
Mm-hmm.
holy, like it's crazy the type of answers you can get.
Of course, man, guys, if you're listening to the podcast right now, that is so profound. You know, asking yourself questions. I think it's so profound because, and Tony Robbins said this once, quality questions leads to quality life. So by asking yourself questions, and I'll explain it the way I look at it. So our minds are always running. It's like a motor, it's a machine, it's a computer. It's always going. So if we're always thinking like, oh, I can't pay my bills this week, or I can't have the relationship that I want, I can't have the body that I want, we're pretty much telling our minds like this is what I want and that's what it's going to give us. But if we ask our minds questions like how can I be better, how can I start making more money, how can I be healthier, how can I love myself, our minds start actually working to answer those questions. So and I think that's so profound, the fact that you're saying to ask yourself questions and have conversations with yourself. And like I'm the same, I have conversations with myself all the time. I once heard this, that 78% of the conversations we have on a daily basis are between like ourselves. Even if you're like in sales or you at an organization and you a radio show host and you talk all the time, like you still like 78 to 80% of the conversations you have on a daily basis are with yourself, which in a way makes total sense because we are with ourselves, so much. And we're so yeah, no, I totally get it, man. It's interesting. As I was listening to you, I'm like, for a music producer and a hip hop producer, like not that I'm saying like hip hop producers are not, aware or anything or understand self-awareness, but like for me to have conversations with you, like you're such a deep guy, like you have depth. So it's just like interesting. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, damn. So do you require to have depth and awareness to become a music producer? I thought you just need to which is, of course, in life, I think the same character traits that helps you become a successful business owner is the same thing that helps you have a great relationship and have a great business. It's just that consistency, is staying persistent, making good decisions, and having a vision and going after it, right? It's interesting. Like you grew up in Canada, right?
For the most part, yeah. I moved to Canada when I was 10 or
Okay.
11. So yeah, I basically grew up in Canada for the most part.
Nice. And you're 33 now, right?
Just turned 34
That's amazing. That's amazing.
last month.
Okay,
So
okay.
been up here for about a little over 20 years.
Okay, okay. No, that's amazing. Like what, so it's like, because getting into the music industry is not easy. It's like having a goal in high school that I'm gonna be in the NBA or I'm gonna play soccer, so it's like one of those things, right? So like what made you want to get into the music industry? Like what drove you? Because you've been in the game for a long time, so it's like what made
Yeah,
you even get into the
yeah.
game and stay? That's another question. Like, and what made you stay in the game for this long? Well, let's answer the first one. Like what made you get into the game?
You know, so the first thing that really drew me to music was just curiosity. So just to kind of backtrack a little bit, I came to Canada in 1998, right?
Mm,
So I moved from St. Vincent, right?
mm,
The small island close to Barbados, St. Lucia.
mm.
And the only music I knew in St. Vincent was reggae, soca, calypso. It was West Indian music. So I have
Yeah.
never in my life heard hip hop, rap, nothing, right? So I first came to Canada, and the very first rap album I heard was Wu Tang,
Mm.
right? And in my mind, I'm like, what? What is this? Wu Tang. I heard Fuji's after that, and then this
Mhm.
artist Gangstar. He was a really big '90s rapper,
Okay.
right? And the thing that drew me most to it, and I don't know where this came from prior to that, but just the patterns in the music, right? The patterns in the beats, the drums, and
Mm.
I just got curious, man. It's curiosity. I started to like collect all the pencil cases in my house. I took some pots and pans from my mom. I set up a
Mm.
drum set in my room, and I would listen to these albums. I'll listen to Wu Tang. I'll listen to like the old DMX albums, old Ja Rule albums, and I'll basically try to replay the drums from what I was
Mm.
hearing on those albums on like empty pencil cases, pots and pans, and that
Mm.
was really the introduction to it, right? And then fast forward high school with the rapping, right? I used to rap before I started producing and
Okay.
before I started
Okay.
getting into engineering. So at that
Mm.
time, there weren't too many people rapping, right?
Mm.
Nowadays, everybody raps, right? But back
Yeah.
then, there weren't too many people rapping. I would basically just write lyrics in class, in my notebook, and I had a group of friends. I would do the same thing. We
Mm.
ended up forming a group called the
Mm.
TDC, and we
Okay.
started putting out songs. You know, we got a mic from Radio Shack. It's the Source now, but before when it was called Radio Shack, we got one
Okay.
of those little dynamic microphones, and then I
Mm.
had a computer in my mom's kitchen. Set that up, and we just recorded albums after albums after albums.
Wow.
And then from there, it just evolved into bigger things, more
Mm.
serious things,
Mm.
and then it's all a blur from there.
Mm.
It's
That's
literally all a blur from there, you know, and it's like, and it's those relationships that really kept taking me to the next level, you know.
mm.
And one of the biggest things was so in the early 2000s, I I was dating this girl,
Mm.
and
There's always a girl.
I was dating this girl, and I was introduced to her brother,
Mm.
and he's a hardcore guy. Like he's one of
Mm.
my best friends to this day. But back
Mm.
then, he was a hardcore guy, right? So
Mm.
it's like I was young. He's about 10 years older than me, and then me and him just clicked. You know, we have the same mentality, and I credit a lot of my, I guess, self awareness to him because he was an
Mhm.
avid reader. So he put me onto a lot of books, and that's actually how I got into reading books and
Mm.
and just having a wanting to expand my knowledge. And
Mhm.
started record label. You know, we had some conversations. We
Mhm.
butted heads at first, but eventually we became the best of friends. Started a record label, and then
Mhm.
that's really when everything took off. And
Mhm.
we had trials and tribulations throughout the years. Things happened, ups and downs. And then it eventually got to a point. We put out some projects, did some tours, flew to
Mm.
different countries to shoot videos. I had a taste of that living the fast life, as you could say, for a
Of
little
course.
bit. And then, you know, I fell back. You know, I fell back, and then I took the more independent route,
Mm.
which I still love. You know, I'm still able to make music the way that I want to make music.
Of course.
I'm still able to set my own deadlines. I'm still able to
Mhm.
work with who I want to work with,
Mhm.
monetize my music how I want to monetize it. So to
Cool.
answer your question in regards to staying in the music industry after so many years. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm not Drake. I'm not Dr. Dre. I'm not a huge multi-platinum recording artist, but
Mhm.
I'm happy with it. You know,
Okay.
I'm happy with what I've done. I'm happy with what I'm able to do still, and
Mhm.
I feel like I still have a lot more that I can do. You know, and I think
Mhm.
just having that control,
Mhm.
just just being comfortable with what you're doing and the timelines and the deadlines
Yeah, like
and how you're doing it is really important.
it's so like it's interesting as you're talking. So one of the things that came to my mind is so you mentioned like you guys produced album after album on the tours. So this was a matter of let's say 5 years or 10 years. Like what I'm always curious about is like those. days and those weeks where you're doing the work to the next song, sitting there planning the next song and getting together with the crew to produce and record and sing, and like that process, the journey. When you were doing those things, what was the vision that was like exciting you to continue to keep going? Like, was it to become, I know we had a conversation one time, like your vision is to, win a Grammy, right? So like what I'm curious about is, and the guy that's listening to this and the woman that's listening to this podcast right now, who has a dream and who has, and they may have already started a business, or they might have just started, a workout plan or whatever it is. And like the first couple of weeks has happened and like, it's got hard for them. And like, they're thinking about quitting. And, you know, and you stayed in the game for so long, and it's like the people that become successful, like yourself, it's like, what kept you guys going in those times where most people quit? You guys continue to go, and then you start to see the fruits of your labor, and you did the tours and you enjoyed the life and all those things. So like, yeah, what was the vision that was like when you were at your mom's house, studio at your mom's house? What was the vision that kept it alive? Like, what's something that you're after? Is it the lavish life, the jets and the Ferraris? Is it to, own an organic farm somewhere in Costa Rica with a couple of, like what's that, like your why? Like, what's that kept you, excited?
Yeah, good question, man. Good question. So earlier on, it was just wanting to be at the top. You know,
Mm,
like that was really it. Because we were looking at the people that were doing it at the level that we wanted to do it at the
mm,
highest level, and we thought, man, like, we could do that.
mm,
What's different that they're doing that we're not doing? Like what's
yeah.
the difference between them and us? And it's
Mm-hmm.
it's like we really believe that we could be at that top spot. And I think for a lot of artists, for a lot of producers, that's what it is. Everybody wants to be the best. Everybody wants to be in the top spot, and everybody believes that they're talented enough to do it. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that alone, you'd be surprised how much that can pull a person, to
Mm-hmm.
want to keep going, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's it, man. Just like, and just believing that you're talented enough to do it,
Yeah, believing in
at a
yourself.
high level is key, is crucial. So in the earlier days, that's definitely what
Mm-hmm.
motivated.
No, it's amazing, man. It's interesting. I do these podcast interviews, and even just associating and connecting with different men and women in different spaces this last decade, I would say. I'm always curious, and especially these days where, I have programs helping men get over watching porn and, talking about sexual energy and all these things. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that, in a sense of like, for a man to become successful in this day and age, how important is it for him to have sexual self-control?
That's a bombshell of a topic, man. So
Mm,
it's very important.
mm,
Very important, because one of the things that's required, in my opinion, right? One of the things that's required to perform at the highest level is focus and
mm,
concentration, right?
yeah,
And obviously time. And you would not believe the amount of time sexual urges take away from your life.
yeah,
Whether it's chasing girls, watching
yeah,
porn, whatever it is, the amount of time and focus that it takes away from what you could be doing that's productive,
yeah.
it literally ruins people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
So I think just the focus that it takes away is the
Mm-hmm.
biggest thing, man.
That's
That's the first
so
thing that pops up to me, man.
then that's so amazing that you say that, because like I was curious, like I'm always curious when I ask these questions, because some people like could also be supportive of watching porn. There's still men that are, think, watching porn is okay or whatever. So for it's like, it's awesome that you said that, because, and I actually read something a couple of days ago. Studies show that men that watch porn actually have smaller brains, so, and it's also, there's studies out there that shows like, someone who watches porn and, releases that sexual energy through ejaculation and just jerking off easily, it actually, they're, prone to have less focus, less concentration, not be as motivated, not have as much drive. And of course, like I could talk about this forever, like it leads to lower self-confidence, lower sex drive, and all these things. But like the thing that I have, noticed from myself, from my early 20s to later 20s, is that when I started taking over and control of my sexual urges, temptations, and actually taking control of my, not only taking control of my sexual energy, but actually learning how to transmute it. Because, energy doesn't get destroyed, guys, girls listening to this podcast. Like, you can't destroy energy. Energy can only get transmuted or transferred. So that sexual energy that you have, you got to learn to actually transmute it in a manner, learn through the deep breathing exercises and journalings and things that I share in my program. So it's so important, like what you're saying pretty much there, is like sexual energy is so important to have control of that, first of all, to not, give into the urges and like, messaging girls and wanting to have surface level sexual casual sex all the time, and releasing and losing all that life force. And if now, once you can control that and learn how to transmute that energy into, recording the next album and writing your next book, doing your next marathon, doing the next workout, whatever it is, your goals and your desires and your dreams are, it's massive. Like, that's literally what helped me, become who I am today, and what I strive to be is the last 4 or 5 years, really taking control of my sexual energy. And of course, like, it's been 2-3 years, I stopped watching porn, and it's just amazing things that happened for me mentally, physically, emotionally, and even in my relationships. Because one of the things I learned that porn does is that it gives you a misconception of what a woman is supposed to be like, how interactions with a woman is supposed to be like, what a woman likes in the bedroom. And also, on the other end of it, you watching another, man do it, it's like you're causing yourself to become a bench warmer, right? And I feel like I just went on a rant, because anytime sexual energy topic comes, I just go on a rant. Like, I think it's so important towards achieving success, focus, concentration, whatever it is that you're desiring, right? But yeah, man,
Well,
that's just
and something I want to add to that, which you mentioned, I think you touched on it in the beginning when you first started talking about it. I don't know the scientific term. I think it's I'm gonna say prefrontal cortex.
okay.
That's probably not even what it's called, but
Okay.
there's something in the front of your brain, right?
Okay.
And every time you watch porn,
Yeah.
it shrinks that. Okay. And the thing
Mm.
about that thing in the front of your brain is that's responsible for your reasoning and your logic,
Okay.
and also
Okay.
a big part of your discipline. So
Mm.
if that shrinks,
Yeah.
ability to reason and be logical and have discipline also shrinks. So
Mm.
it's just a never ending cycle. And obviously, I mean, that's your space. So I'm sure you know plenty about that. But don't get
That,
me wrong here, okay? There's nothing wrong with busting a nut,
yeah.
but it should not be the main focus. It should not even be the top three main focus for a man, in
Mm-hmm.
my opinion. That should be
Mm-hmm.
chasing girls, busting a nut. That should not even be on the priority list. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
like a luxury. You do it every now and then. Get it off, but that
Yeah.
should never be the main focus.
I like how you say it's a luxury. And this is something, of course, like at the end of the day, it's interesting that you say that, and even those luxuries, I'm somebody of discipline. I'm like, even the luxuries could be, you can mm, like just don't do it as often, man, especially
Yeah.
in your early 20s, early 30s. Like, if like I'm just very, I'm not saying disciplined, but like I'm pretty hardcore in a sense. I got a pretty Navy style attitude towards things. So it's like I'm the one that's like, hold that nut, don't jerk off, keep that life force in, and use it to, start making $10,000 a month, to start having that relationship that you wanted. Like, until you're not successful, don't freaking just out there jerk off and watch porn, man. Because like, besides it not being good for you, like it's just like you're losing that life force, like that. So
Man,
I'm just not a supporter of it, like I'm like, man,
man.
like you're losing life force. And I talk from, experience in a way. So it's like I'm not trying to sound like I'm a, you know, uh like, in a sophisticated in a way, or from an intellectual point of view, or like, like these are the facts that this is how this affects
Mhm.
you. But I'm just trying to say from personal experience, man. After the first 90 days I started my first business. After the first 6 months or so, I was running my first half marathon, and like the energy, enthusiasm, the or my whole energy, everything around me changed, because like, which makes sense, so I'm just a massive supporter of it. Okay. Let me
That's
ask you this.
amazing. That's
Let
amazing.
me ask you this.
Yeah.
cryptocurrency, okay? Where are you at with cryptocurrency? Like, and the reason why I'm asking it like this, because like I talked to some people, my best friend's father, who's like, cryptocurrency, what is that? And I talked to one of my best friends who's like, yo, I just made 12K last week. And then like, so it's like, I'm curious, like, where you at with cryptocurrency and like, what were your thoughts on cryptocurrency? Because I feel like everybody's just going crazy on cryptocurrency right now.
I love it, man. I love it. I'm in, bro. I'm in. So the way that I see it, right? My philosophy on that is me personally,
Mm-hmm.
I'm invested in Bitcoin and Ethereum heavy,
Mm-hmm.
right? All the other ones, Shiba, the Decentraland, Elon, all those other ones, I put like play money in there, like money that if I
Mm-hmm.
lose it, I'm not gonna blink, right? So
Okay.
I'm not too invested in those, but
Yeah.
I see a lot of potential in it, man. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
firm I'm on board 100%,
Yeah,
right? But I'm more backing Bitcoin and Ethereum
mm-hmm.
because I'm not like a super risky crypto investor, right?
Yeah.
So although there's like 200%, 300% gains on some of these other ones,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, I might dabble, but I'll take my chances for the slow growth in the long run with Bitcoin and Ethereum. But I'm 100% into it. I'm trying to study it more, to
Mm-hmm.
learn more about especially the NFT space. And I think you
Of
had
course.
mentioned something to me the other day about the crypto gaming or
Yeah, crypto gaming and NFTs. So that's, yeah, I was curious what you were going to say because so NFTs, it's like, so cryptocurrency and then it's NFTs and then right now, like the thing to get into. And then once again, I'm sharing personal opinions as well here. And I have some friends in this space that have made a couple millions of dollars in the last couple of months. So NFTs, it's digital art. Like I believe in it very much. I'm a big supporter of it. I'm actually looking to, I was telling a friend of mine that the day, I was like, so I'm interested in putting about $10,000-$20,000 right now into like 10, 15 NFTs, like go actually do your research on OpenSea and Solana and like a couple of these platforms, look and do your research. And then, yeah, it's like for myself, like I'm looking into putting 10, 20 grand into a couple of different NFTs and just sit on it. It's just digital art, and I see a massive opportunity in it because there's so many people right now making millions of dollars from this. And I'm not saying it's a massive opportunity because people are making millions of dollars from it, but I'm saying because it's such a massive opportunity for a lot of these artists back in the day, right? So like, and you know what's crazy? Like growing up in school, like your parents would never suggest you become an artist. Like that was one of those things where like there's no money in being an artist, especially art, like drawing and painting, right? So, and I thought it was so interesting because I was having a chat with a friend yesterday, and he's an artist, and right now he's about to have a couple of crypto NFTs. Like he's making NFTs out of his own art, and he's going to sell it on these platforms.
Nice.
And and I seen it like the other day on Instagram, some artist that is a digital artist, and one of his NFTs sold for $60 million, and he was on video sharing, like as the betting was going up and down, and like he was sharing with his family, and like to see a piece of art go for $60 million, digital art, some people I can imagine they can think like, oh my God, like what is this is just craziness. But like at the same time, it's not this like the metaverse, the whole digital world that's coming, you know what I mean? Like digital art is here to stay, companies like Nike and I've already started investing in like these virtual stores and there. So if art was super valuable in the physical world, it's going to be also important and valuable in the virtual world, because when in the metaverse, when you put those glasses on and you go into like your own house, your own avatar, and your friends are coming to hang out with you, now your NFT arts are going to be hanging on your walls, right? So it's like it's just becoming crazy, like where it's like the opportunity to make a lot of money, it really is there. But like, let's be honest, and let's be like, I like to be very practical. So you're listening to this podcast right now and you probably have 20, 30, $40,000, and you might be like, and who knows, maybe you don't have any money, which I totally understand. It's all good. But if you do have that $10,000, $20,000 and you are looking to put it into NFTs or something like that, like I'm no financial advisor, obviously, make your own decision at your own risk. I'm simply sharing personal opinions. Yeah, those opportunities are there right now. And The thing is though, if you have that $20,000, and like Robert Kiyosaki always talks about, excess capital is not the only thing that can make you more capital. You also need the experience and education. So in this aspect of it, so if you're sitting there with $10,000, $20,000 and you want to look into this NFT space, now you got to put in 10, 20 hours into learning it. Okay, so actually going Googling this, finding the top 20 NFTs, reading about it, going on OpenSea.io and like looking at NFTs, looking at their prices, how you buy it, how do you transfer your money from one wallet to another wallet, like put actually 10, 20 hours of practical time into it. And by then, now you're like, okay, out of 100 crypto or NFTs, you have found 10 of them that you're into and you can afford, and then put that time and then buy it. And then sit in it for like a year or so. And who knows, maybe an NFT that you buy ends up making you freaking 2 million, 5 million, 4 million. Like they're selling for crazy, you know, $60 million. Like imagine you drew something and you minted it and you put it on this platform and you say it's a Ralz beat, original beat, and then boom, you know, actually to even in your space. Like, so I heard that it's going to change the game for artists, because now instead of having a record label, you could, you know, have an album, make an NFT off the album cover, and then your listeners get 20%, you get 80%. So whoever ends up, you know, like buying that album cover, right? They get 20% of the loyalties of the songs and the things that is out there, and you get 80%. So now the label gets nothing. You are your own label. And so like it's supposed to be changing the game and everything. So it's like that's just crazy. It's a crazy time, man. I think it's a beautiful time to be alive in 2021 and continues on. There's so much craziness, amazing opportunities out there. Like if you want to get rich, if you want to make more money, like I believe, you know, like it's just endless opportunity out there in this world right now, you know?
Yeah, 100%. It's exciting stuff, man. I mean, crypto, the NFT space. I was reading something the other day. I was looking at this meme. I think it was on Instagram, where it was showing the growth in the last year or two with real estate, the stock market, and then crypto. Real estate was like 15%, stock market 20%. And these are all in comparison to each other, right? 20%. Crypto is like 200 plus percent.
Oh, wow.
Like, and it's only the beginning. You know, it's only the beginning. I think with everything that's happening right now, there's a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah, of course.
There's a lot of uncertainty in the financial market. So, I mean, I'm no financial advisor, so you said, but there's a lot of potential.
Of course.
You said something that was super dope, man. Like having the money is one thing, right?
Yeah.
Having an extra 10, 20, 30K, whatever it is one thing, but having the education and know what to do with it is more important than having the money, right? Because you can invest the money thinking you're up and then you can lose it. So the education and taking the time to know what you're doing. You know,
exactly. You know,
super important. Super important.
I think of the saying, well, what happens when the man with experience meets the man with the money? What happens is the man with the experience leaves with the money, and the man with the money leaves with the experience. You know,
I like that.
So
I like that.
I've always believed in that, you know? So like let me ask you, this is some real shit. Okay. So, and part of my language is, in this world that we live in, you know, I feel like, you know, just the journey that I'm on, and, you know, really sharing a message that a lot of people are not sharing, and there's also a lot of people that are sharing, and it's not something that's really accepted in the environment, culture, society that we are grown up in, you know, and how important it is in the evolution of you becoming, you know, your most successful, you know, your most masculine, most aware man in this day and age, to learn to express your emotions in a healthy manner. You know, because like we live in a world where like we're told to, like, you know, dad was uncle and it was like, don't show your emotions, don't cry, and don't do this. Like that's not what a man does, which I totally disagree. You know, I have cried many times and many days in the last couple of years of doing this inner work and healing parts of myself that were, you know, that had gone through the childhoods, things that I experienced, right? So I'm very big on men expressing their emotions, man having that strong brotherhood to be able to express their emotions. And I believe that the magic in becoming your most aware self is to learn to express your emotions. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that. Like, how important is it to learn to express your emotions?
Okay. I'm going to disagree with you a little bit. Okay. On one thing you said. Okay.
I like it. Gail, go ahead. Tell me it all, baby.
When it comes to men expressing their emotions, I agree with you in the sense that for men to have a network or a group or a circle of other men that are close to them that they trust, that
Mm,
they could express their emotions with, I think is super important. Right?
mm,
It's super important. Like, be honest with yourself, know what's going on with yourself.
mm,
Have a circle of guys that you trust and love, that you mess with, that you
yeah.
can express your emotions to, right?
Mm,
Now, the part where I disagree is in, let's say, in a relationship dynamic.
yeah.
That's different. In
Mm,
my opinion, that's different. So in
okay.
that dynamic, I think a man should absolutely not
Mm,
express certain
mm,
kinds of emotions in that
mm,
dynamic
mm,
because it could be detrimental to the relationship,
mm.
right? But that's
Hey.
a whole nother story. That's a whole
Yeah,
nother
it
rabbit hole.
is.
But
That's
I
another
just
podcast.
that's a whole nother podcast. But just to kind of do a little like I kind of agree with what you're saying, but
Of course.
for certain circumstances,
Mm-hmm.
I say you got to keep it on lock, right? But in the
Mm-hmm.
other sense, when you're dealing with your guy friends, 100%, you need somebody that you could express that to. I just don't think
Mm-hmm.
you should do that in a relationship dynamic. That's my opinion.
Literally. And what you're saying is like pretty much like the fact that like I believe that yeah, I have that strong friendship, a strong brotherhood, friends that you can cry in their arms and that you let everything
Wow.
out to, and feeling
Exactly.
safe around the masculine friends that you have
Yeah.
that like like if I got if I'm crying about something, if I'm emotional about something, if whatever it is, right? It's like for us, like who knows? Every man has a different experience on their own. But what I'm trying to say is that there, as men, we're also human and we experience and we feel certain emotions, and it
Of
would
course.
be it's amazing and it's important on my journey of being able to do that. And yes, with your brothers and your friends and like people that you feel safe with,
Yeah.
people that you trust. And so that's amazing. And that's something myself when it comes to like guys listening to this podcast, like Ravi, as I feel from our conversations in the past, I will learn a lot from him about relationships, and I have even taken relationship advice from him in many, even the last year or so when I had relationship issues and certain things that I wasn't aware of. He was, one of the brothers in my circle that I would call and I would, just throw the information at him and just to hear his thoughts and opinion on things. And so I would say highly that he definitely has more knowledge and experience in a way on certain things about like the idea of like myself. I'm still learning in the fact of, is it okay to be fully emotional with your woman, or is it okay um to not like don't be actually with a couple of things like show emotions to the woman, but do not actually, as I'm just saying this right now, I agree with you as well. Like it just clicked in my head. Okay, so I thought I was in the mindset of that it's okay to be just fully emotional with your woman, like cry in her arms and all those things. Yes, at some extent, meaning that it's okay to show emotions to your woman, but you do not want your woman to become the person who's taking on your emotional burden, meaning that yes, a funeral in the family, someone dies, things like that, like you show emotions and you cry and whatever it is with the woman.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you are dealing with certain things in your life and you're emotional and got some issues going on, some things, I think it's important that you have that strong brotherhood, strong man friends that you can call and be like, yo, I'm dealing with this thing. Like, this is what I'm going through. And do not put that burden on your woman. So, is that what you were kind of saying? Because I was like, I had a moment as I was about to say, I was like, yo, I feel like I disagree with you right now, but I got to learn more from my experiences in the future. And then as I was saying that, I'm like, no, actually, you're right. From my last experience, and even just as we have talked so much the last couple of weeks, I'm like, yeah, it's you're right. You actually, be emotional with your woman and express emotions. Yeah, do not, it's almost like wanting, that like this is almost a different concept, but like the idea of seeking love from your girlfriend when that love that you're seeking, you can actually give yourself that love, and that codependency and like those kind of things that come into place where and anyways, it could get another deep conversation on that. But no, I'm glad that you shared that because you're right, and that's something that I'm learning and I'm realizing myself. And I'm excited for my next relationship in a way, like in a sense of like to experience that and to make sure, because I am a very open guy, so I'm like I get open with a woman and like we hit it off. Like I don't like hold back anything. Whatever comes, I'm gonna say it, right?
Mhm.
But I think it's important to make sure, yeah, say whatever it is on your mind and open up about everything, but yet do not, like now your emotional issues and things that you're dealing with in your life, like do not try to like use her as a therapist, like,
Right,
like,
exactly, exactly.
you know?
I mean, like saying that, like that's kind of a controversial stance and a controversial point of view because we're told as men to, oh, it's okay to express your emotions to your girl. It's your girl, it's your love of
Yeah.
your life. It's absolutely not. And
Yeah.
I'm not a relationship therapist, a relationship guru. I'm speaking from personal experience. It is
Yeah.
absolutely not okay to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got guy friends, you got a close circle of men.
Yeah.
That's who you express your emotions with.
Yeah.
It's
No,
not to say that you don't show your woman love and you don't care for her.
of course.
That's not what I'm saying at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's just when it comes to you expressing certain emotions, you
Hmm.
got to reserve that a little. Contrary to popular belief, you got
Yeah.
to
No,
reserve it.
no, I feel
In my
that.
opinion,
No, I feel that. I
Uh,
definitely feel that.
yeah.
Do you feel like, like it's interesting, I'm 31 years old. I always hear my mom tell me, she's like, you should have a 7-year-old by now. Or you should have a 3-year-old by now. And I'm over here like fully happy, fully happy in my life. I got, like I got things going on and I'm busy and I have great relationships and companionship and the whole night. Like life is amazing. And it's interesting though, yet the programming and society and culture and environment that's in within us. So for me, from the age of 27, 28, I was starting to contemplate on getting married, like really considering getting married because like I thought like my family, cousins, best friends, your friends are getting married, having a couple of kids. So like I actually went through a couple of years of contemplating that. I'm like, yo, like, okay, so I guess like this is it. Like I'm supposed to be doing this. Like I'm supposed to be doing this. Literally, like this is what you get a good job, you get a good life going, and then you meet someone, you get married, you have kids, and like that's the plan. And then, but I was never on that plan. But society and culture and environment almost sold me on the plan around 27, 28, 29, even like 30 years old. I remember last year that I wasn't actually, I already got out of that, but like 27, 28, 29, I'm like contemplating that, but I'm like, yo, like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And then because the mindset is that like 40 is coming and 40 means like that it's the end, like after 40 is downhill. All programs, and like it's programs of the culture and environment. They must get you to think that it's going to be over so you can buy the products, right? You have to, after 40, buy the gray hair, this and that. And like 35, you got to start getting ready for like, it's all like a scheme. It's the matrix. Like you have to buy into that. But yet, if you listen to successful people, Gary Vaynerchuk or anybody that's successful or happy, that has achieved some type of thing in life, you listen to these guys, like they tell you literally like 40 is when I'm getting started. Like 40 is like when I'm like, all right, now I've learned some things. I'm good now. Like now let me enjoy and start actually the fruits of my labor. Let me actually like I'm feeling like better than when I was 20, right? So I just find that, I think that's so important. Like it's just crazy that my mind is like I'm aware of that. So that's why I'm not in a rush to get married. I have mentors that got married at 45 and had kids at 50. So like for me, I'm like, I'm in no rush because I'm like, I'm on like time. I'm still learning and gaining experience. Yet it's crazy. Culture, environment, these things will have you sold on the idea of like, yo, you're supposed to get married. You're supposed to have kids. You're supposed to get into this thing. And it's like, no. And like once again, there's a lot of you guys listening, you have kids, you have family and all these things. Nothing against that. I'm happy for you and that it worked the way your life and your journey has come about. I'm just sharing my opinion on and my things and what I'm going through in the sense from, getting those phone calls from my mom and like, yo, you should have a 6-year-old, a 7-year-old and all these things. Right. So I just think it's interesting, like if we get sold on that program and then we start to think these things, and then like you kind of fall into the trap of getting married too early, meeting the wrong person, and a lot of things happens, right? And I think this is where self-awareness comes into play in the sense of be self-aware about the things and the decisions you make, right? Because if you're not, you end up meeting someone and you get married with them because of just you know, like, oh, this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing, and not about if you're even aligned with this person, you have things in common with this person, you have the same goals and visions this person. No, I think, you know what I find crazy is like, I feel like most couples probably never ask each other what like their goals are, what their vision for their life is, like these massive conversations that I have with my own self, you know, like, and I had with my last relationship as well. And that's why I'm like, yo, like my sisters always tell me, like, yo, it won't be easy. Like I give it up to the girl that's actually in a relationship with you, because like you're a fucking, you know, part of my language, like Navy SEAL style, you know, like first date. Yo, what's something that bothers you? What's your goals for life? Okay. No, why did the last relationship end it anyways?
Those are valid questions, though,
You know,
right?
like those are
Those are
good
valid
questions.
questions.
You know, and like a good person, I have had conversations with women that like I've honored that and actually answered them, and like they laughed and they asked me questions. It's interesting though, like you, if you tell this to someone and they laugh about it, or they think I like, it's like, you know, I like, it's interesting that like you actually are supposed to be asking these kind of questions. You're supposed to be, you're building a life plan with this person. You know what I mean? Like you're supposed to be aware, have the same goals, have the same vision, and all these things. So for me, in a way, I'm patient, you know. I'm patient in a sense of course, I have a vision of, you know, having kids in my 40s, not 30, the 40s. I have a vision of having kids, man. You know, I do have the vision that by the time I'm 40, I'm probably definitely with someone. It's been a couple of years I've been with this person. I could even be married by 40. By 40, I could be, but like I'm 31. That's a long time right now. So like I have those visions, but I'm in no rush to make the wrong decision. I'm a very logical person, you know. So I think that's one of the things, man. The ebook, Aware Alpha ebook is coming out. 21 things to be that makes you an Aware Alpha. I think I'm gonna add that. You know, being patient. I think,
Yeah,
you know,
you know,
that's very important, right?
you're absolutely right. I agree 100% with that. We got time, man. As men, I mean, I'm 34,
Mm-hmm.
you're 31. I don't even think we're in our prime yet. You know,
No, you
I think
know.
we got time, man. You know,
Oh yeah,
40, 40 is right around the corner. I think we got time, man. You know,
of course.
it's interesting. As you were saying all that, I started to think about um successful people, and when I say successful, I don't mean just from a materialistic standpoint. I mean
Mm,
from an achievement standpoint, right? From
yeah.
an accomplishment standpoint, right? So the people that I look up to, like say like for example, like the Jay-Z's, like the Grant Cardones.
Mm,
If you look at what age they had kids at, I mean,
yeah.
they're like 50 years old with
50.
kids that are under 10,
Oh yeah.
and they're
Grant
still
Cardone is,
together.
sorry to cut you off. Grant Cardone is like 65, man. He had his kids when he was like 52, 53. You
What?
know?
Do you know what I'm saying? They're onto something.
Right?
Well, they're onto something, you know. And it's like with society, what you said, there is a programming, right? And one thing I always try to remember is a saying. I'm not sure who said it, but it goes, "Don't do as I say, but
Mm.
what I do."
Yeah, yeah,
Something
yeah.
like that, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
people, you know, they'll say things, but you got to watch what they do. You know, so
Yeah.
society's telling us get married, 25 years old, get married for men, right? Get married
Yeah.
at 25, do this, do this, do that. But then the people that I would say you and I look up to in a
Yeah.
certain space, it's like you're looking at what they're doing, and it's the complete opposite.
Exactly.
So it's like what they're onto something, right?
You
So
know?
I believe we got time, and as men, I think we got time.
Of course. And I think it comes down to also intentions. Like my vision for my life is to build a life for myself, travel, enjoy things. And, you know, and through that journey, if I meet the right person, that's good. You know, we'll make some happen. If not, you know, like remember me and you were talking last year, like, you know, I had met someone that I thought I'd probably potentially get married to eventually. But like that was my own awareness and where I was at the time. And then like today where I am, I'm like, oh wow, like I realize I'm not even ready for that. So like life is full of lessons, you know, things are coming and going at all times. So it's interesting, you know. I gotta say, man, I love your awareness. Like I like your, you know, the fact that like you have the understanding that you do on certain things, these topics, right? I think that's an aware alpha, you know, somebody that is aware and has an understanding of themselves, you know? And I think that's so important. Do you meditate?
Not as much as I want to. I'll
Yeah.
be honest, man. You know, I try. Okay, so I have certain spells
Mhm.
where I'll go through a spell where I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm meditating religiously, and then I'll go like 3 months where I don't do it at all, right? So
Yeah.
I'm not consistent with it. I
Okay.
want to be more consistent with it.
Mm.
Um, but I think thank you for that comment, by the way, about being aware. And I think
Oh, I'm being honest.
what I said what I said earlier, man. I think it just comes down to the questions that you ask yourself, man. Like I think questions could really dictate a person's life. Like if you really sit down and just like you said, when you're dating somebody, it's
Yeah.
like how many people actually ask the other person what their goals are? Like what do you
Yeah.
want? Like what do you intend to do 5, 10 years from now? And I
Hmm.
think just like spending time with yourself and just asking, sitting down and be like, okay, what do I want? Like
Hmm.
like if in 10 years I could see myself somewhere, where would I want to be? Just questions like that. It's the
Hmm.
simplest questions, and I had a conversation with you um a few weeks ago when I was hustling and bustling and I wasn't really stopping to think or to breathe. And I remember you called me and you said something, right? And you
Hmm.
asked me two questions. You remember what those two questions were?
Oh, was it? Oh, what would you do if you had 6 months to live?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And then the second
And
one was if money wasn't an issue, what would you be doing with your time right now?
bro, as simple as those two questions sound, okay, let
Mm.
me tell you, in that moment, in that particular moment, because I'm not aware all the time. Like I'll
Mhm.
keep it 100. I'm not aware 100% of the time every single day. I have
Yeah.
my moments where I'm off. That was one of those moments. And that conversation, I'm being real. You brought me back. You grounded me again. And I
Mm.
stopped and I'm like, you know what? Those are some damn good questions.
I love
Damn
that.
good questions, man. I sat down and I answered them,
Mm.
and it sort of realigned everything at that point. So
Mm.
I mean, yeah, man, just being aware and just questioning yourself and just asking yourself those tough questions,
Mhm.
and the important people in your life, like you were saying, asking them those questions as well, man. I think
Yeah.
it's as simple as that in my opinion, man. You know,
Yeah.
that's
No,
that's what it is for me, man.
that's so true, man.
And
And
that's the
like,
key for me being aware.
yeah, and like it's so true. Like even David Goggins, like he talks about like the idea of spending time with yourself, like really spend time with yourself and ask yourself questions and actually dig down on these questions and let the answers come to you and analyze. And I think at the end of the day, of course, it comes down to having a desire to want to get better, become wealthy, rich, whatever it is, happy, becoming stronger, braver, whatever it is. And I feel like as men, like we all have some kind of desire, and if we don't, it's like, what's going on? Like, there's probably some kind of inner work that you must do if you're feeling, let's say, depressed to the point where you don't want to do anything. Of course, that's a whole different topic. And, you look into that, look within yourself, ask and search within yourself. It's super important. And I'm glad that um, you mentioned that because it's just interesting. I love talking to other men or women that reinforce that thought of the idea of actually spending time with yourself, asking yourself questions. Really, in a way, that's a form of meditation, right? Meditation is the art of spending time with yourself. What I say is spend time with my students, like meditation is the art of spending time with yourself, spending time with your thoughts and spending time with all parts of yourself, that inner child, the ego, the authentic side, and also all the invisible character personality traits that's out there. So I think it's profound where you sit, and I believe you are. It seems like you are meditating, spending time with yourself and asking yourself questions that brings up more introspection, I should say. And
Yeah.
yeah, so no, I love that. That's amazing. What's your what are your thoughts on gratitude and the power of gratitude? There's studies out there everywhere, of course. Everyone, and there's a lot of people that talk about it and the power behind it. Like, what are your thoughts on it? Do you believe in that aspect of focusing on things that you're grateful for and that will bring more into your life, more positivity and more goodness? Like, do you feel
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So with gratitude, see, I was brought up being taught to practice gratitude, right? So
Mm,
before I even knew the power of it, I
mm,
was doing it from an early age, right?
mm,
My grandmother would always tell me, listen, you better be grateful for that food that's on your plate. You better be
mm,
grateful that you woke up another one and you're breathing. You got to great. So from an early age, it was kind of normal to me. It was ingrained in me by my grandparents to just
mm,
just be grateful for what I have. Don't take the things I have for granted. because I would always hear there's somebody in the world that doesn't have what I have.
Mm.
So give thanks for what you have at that moment, and I kind of just carried that on into my adult life.
Mm.
Um, and I don't even think about it anymore. It's just something I do unconsciously.
Mm.
But I think it is important, man. I think it is important to give thanks. Just be grateful for what you have. Um, yeah, man. Yeah, yeah.
That's amazing. You know, it's interesting. Every person that I think is a success in life that I talk to reinforces that there's a magic that can unfold in your life when you practice gratitude. You know, that you can there like it's a good thing. It's a good practice. And interesting that from my experience, a lot of people that have experienced hardship are more, you know, into the aware. They're more aware of the magic power of gratitude than the people that, let's say, have lived an entitled life in a way, right? No judgment here. So just yeah, it's interesting, and like I'm glad that you find the benefits in it. And like for me, I'm a massive advocate of practicing gratitude, and I think there's a lot of magic that can unfold in your life if you practice it on a daily basis. You know, so yeah, no, I'm glad that you share that. And it's yeah, like I'm massive on that. And I was talking about this the last couple of days, and I'm even planning on coming out with a second book on gratitude. So yeah, like I'm glad that you're, you know, an advocate as well, somebody that thinks that, you know, practicing gratitude is important. And it's so true. Like there's people on the outside of the world that have way less than us,
Mm,
and I think it's so important that for us to acknowledge that,
yeah.
and practicing gratitude is a great way to acknowledge that, right? So well, man, I just want to say, like, this has been an amazing, you know, conversation for me. I'm learning things. I'm getting my own mind is getting expanded as we're doing this. So tell the people how they can find you, where they can find you, you know, and maybe give them a little bit on what you're up to, you know, what company, what things you're working on. But yeah, definitely let the people know where they can find you here. And yeah, man.
Yeah. So you can find me at ralzbeats.com. That's a
Okay.
website for my music production company, music licensing publishing.
Okay.
So I not only for myself but for other artists, I help producers, artists, songwriters get their music placed into TV shows,
Mm,
commercials, film, things like that. On the publishing side, and I license music to artists,
mm,
podcasts, YouTubers, content creators, whatever the case may be.
mm.
So ralzbeats.com, RALZBEATS.com, and then Ralz Beats on Instagram, even though I barely use Instagram. I'm the only producer in Toronto that doesn't give a crap about Instagram. But yeah, you can find me on Instagram, ralzbeats.com. I'm
Nice.
going to be posting more going into 2022.
Oh, awesome, man. Yeah, so I'm definitely gonna have those details in the detail section, guys. His website, his Instagram handle. I know that if I want to get a hold of him, I message him on the iPhone and not message him on Instagram because I might not hear from him for like a long time. But yeah, definitely give him a follow, send him you know, any feedback, questions, anything. If you're in the music industry and you want to work with them, definitely send him a message. And yeah, man, I just want to say thank you so much for jumping on here. And like I said, I learned things, and, you know, I appreciate you just giving an hour of your valuable time to the audience, myself. So thank you so much for jumping on the podcast, brother.
I appreciate you, brother. Thank you, man.
Awesome, man. And guys, listening to the podcast, and that I finished this episode off with you guys, you know, like I always mention, my intentions are for you to not only take these and giving 1 hour of your time into the podcast. I hope that you're not only taking this for entertainment purposes. I hope that you're actually learning something from this. I hope that you're taking something away from this and you're deciding and making a decision to start implementing something in your daily life, something that we may have said. Maybe we got you curious about cryptocurrency. Maybe I got you curious about NFT. Maybe I got you curious about, you know, learning more about your emotions and expressing them in a healthy manner. Whatever it is that you may have just, you know, got exposed to mentally, I hope that you take that away from it and you go actually start self-reflecting on it, sitting on it, thinking about it, journaling on it, meditating on it, and not just letting it go, not just finishing this podcast and getting to work and going to sleep, or which I'm okay with. You know, I could tell you it's okay with the views and everything. It's amazing. But really, my intentions are for you to take something away from this. I want to get those messages back 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, for someone to be like, hey, you share something on episode 61 and you share something on episode 42. It was on motivation, it was on sales, it was on sexual energy, it was on something. And that day I got curious about it. That day I got curious about sales. That day I got curious about sexual energy. That day I got curious about NFTs. Whatever it is that you end up getting exposed to on this podcast, I hope that you take it away and you learn something from this and let your mind marinate with this information. And lastly, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. And for now, until the next time, stay an aware alpha.